Here are the topics that will be covered within the Supreme Court revision video. This video is going to focus on the debate on whether the Supreme Court has become a political institution or not. Is the Supreme Court a political institution? There may be 9 politicians sitting on a bench in robes, however they are constitutionally separate but not outside the political battle arena. There are strong arguments that the court is a political, not a judicial institution, which will be the focus of the next part of this video. It is the nation's confidence in the judges as an impartial guardian of the law. Bush v. Gore showed that justices were ruling along party lines and allowed the Democrats to criticize the court. Justice Stevens felt the court was wrong and voiced his thoughts. Because the Supreme Court is making decisions in policy areas that are politically contentious, and they are decisions that the 2 major parties fundamentally disagree on, the court can be seen to some extent to be a political institution. Why has the Supreme Court become a political institution? Well, justices are appointed by politicians, so the process itself is becoming more politicised. Justices are now making decisions on issues that feature in elections, such as abortion, immigration, and gun control. And these are issues that the 2 main parties disagree on. This can lead to criticisms of overactivism and restraint. Some of the Supreme Court's decisions have a quasi-legislative effect, if it is a new law that has been passed. For example, Obergefell v. Hodges in 2015 was the right for same-sex couples to marry. ABA, which is the American Bar Association, is supposed to be the impartial vetting service for presidents choosing their court nominations. However, in 2017, Trump ignored the ratings 4 times and appointed judges who were rated as not qualified by the ABA. An example of a politicized decision made by the court is Bush v. Gore in 2000. The 2000 presidential election between George W. Bush and Al Gore had been an incredibly close result. The final result rested on who won the state of Florida, where the vote was particularly close. Under Florida law, such a close outcome meant that there had to be a recount of votes in some areas. The Supreme Court intervened and put a stop to this manual recount of votes in Florida, claiming that this would violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment by treating people's votes unequally. The ruling meant that President Bush won Florida's Electoral College votes and therefore the presidency. Critics argued that the presidential election had been decided by the vote of a single Supreme Court justice. Also, in Gonzalez v. Carhart in 2007, the Supreme Court upheld the Partial Birth Abortion Act of 2003. This was a federal law that prohibited certain late-stage abortions. The court claimed that because the ban applied to only a certain type of abortion rather than all forms of abortion, it did not violate constitutional rights. The court held a 5-4 decision that upheld the ban. All 5 of the justices in the majority were Catholic, and the only woman on the court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, opposed the decision and argued that the court was hostile to women's abortion rights. The judgment was seen as a triumph for religious and conservative pressure groups. Let's consider whether or not the Supreme Court is a political institution. Using the information I went through earlier in the video, pause the video here to fill out the table with reasons why the Supreme Court can or cannot be considered a political institution. Let's look at the reasons why the Supreme Court can be considered a political institution. This unelected body can make important changes to the most controversial areas of public policy. The nomination and confirmation process of justices is highly politicised. Most justices tend to make conservative or liberal judgments. Justices generally share the political view of the presidents who appointed them. The court has been criticised for acting as a third house of legislator by effectively making rather than interpreting the law. Judicial activist judges make rulings that they believe improve society but were not intended by the framers. Roe v. Wade remains a key dividing line between liberals and conservatives. The court effectively decided the results of the presidential election in Bush v. Gore. And finally, over time, the court has increased the power of the federal government at the expense of state rights. There are reasons why the Supreme Court cannot be considered a political institution, and they are because the Constitution, in order for it to remain relevant, the court must apply it to modern areas of public policy, even if this is controversial. Justices are independent and free from political influence once appointed. Decisions are made based on legal argument and not political principles. Some justices do not reflect the political stance of the president who appointed them. For example, David Souter, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh sometimes vote against their president's wishes. Some justices do not consistently vote the same way. For example, Anthony Kennedy's swing vote. Judicial activism can be necessary to ensure all citizens enjoy protection under laws. This was seen in Brown versus the Board of Topeka. Congress acts as a check on an overly political Supreme Court. If it wishes to, it could initiate a constitutional amendment to overturn the court's decision.